Hi, everybody, and welcome back to 21 Next. And today is a special farm show edition of 21 Next because we are talking about a specific long-time Pennsylvania law that was created to help price milk fairly, but apparently it's causing some frustrations for the people it was supposed to help. And that's where CBS 21's Austin Winkler comes in because he was actually able to talk to some of the people, some of the farmers that this is supposed to help. Hi, Austin. How are you? So I want to just break down essentially what this overorder law is initially and why it was implemented in the first place.
Sure. So the overwater premium is a part of a law that was introduced back in the 80s. And the whole purpose of it was in the 80s, there was a big drought that kind of swept over Pennsylvania. And the main purpose was to give a little bit of money back to farmers and help farmers with different things that they needed, whether it was costs of like feed or labor costs. And at the time, it made sense because a lot of milk in Pennsylvania was processed, produced, and sold in Pennsylvania. But the catch to the law is that farmers only get that overorder premium if it checks all those boxes. So if it's produced, processed, and sold in Pennsylvania, if one of those things isn't happening, then the farmer doesn't get that at all. So it's definitely something that's impacting a lot of farmers. It can come down to farmers losing, thousands of dollars a year. So yeah.
Were you able to talk to specific farmers, and do they share any personal experiences or personal issues with the premium at all?
Yeah, so I actually talked to a farmer, Larry Stoner, who is the owner of Apple Valley Creamery, and he's not as impacted just because he does all of it on his own. But he did say that it is something that a lot of farmers kind of have an issue with because of the fact that there he is right there. Because of the fact that farmers are, like I said before, are kind of over time not doing all of those things on their own. So there's definitely, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't impact consumers as much because it only comes down to pennies. But those, like Larry had said, like those pennies add up. And when it comes down to the farmer, even though it doesn't impact the consumers that much because they're only paying a couple cents extra, the farmers, again, are losing out like thousands of dollars.
Right. So that money's just going back into the retailer, the wholesalers' pockets instead of the farmers then.
Right, exactly. And with Larry is what you call a co-op. So Larry does the producing and processing on his own. So he doesn't have that issue as much.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And is there anything in the works, any legislation that is being worked on to potentially either override that premium or change that in any way?
Yeah, so there is legislation, but I wanted to go back for a second too, because there's actually a lot of like support for changing the overorder premium. And I want to make it clear too that farmers and just Pennsylvania agriculture as a whole, people involved in the industry, they're not looking to just do away with it. They're looking to change it because, again, in the 80s, it was beneficial and it was helping farmers. And so it's kind of looking to modernize it so that way farmers can reap the benefits from it like they did in the 80s. So one thing that we had done for this story was I went out to one of the chairmen for the Pennsylvania Milk Board, Robert Barley, and he kind of explained like, yeah, there is a lot of support for this, but the issue, like you had mentioned, is it's a law. It's part of a law. So because of that, in order to change any of this, it has to go through the House and Senate. And there is legislation right now with two senators, Senator Schwenk and Vogel. They are basically doing exactly that. They're looking to change it so that farmers can have more opportunity to make more money on milk products. Because when I was talking to Larry, he was kind of saying the demand for milk has gone down and it's continuing to go down in Pennsylvania as Pennsylvanians move towards product like cheese and yogurt. Yes, that is dairy, but it's not milk. And so people are moving away from that stuff, especially now that we have milk alternatives that weren't necessarily there in the 80s.
Right. I wonder if that will change now that the whole Hearty Milk Act has been signed. I wonder if that will change anything. But also, I mean, I think it's interesting, too, that you were able to talk to that man. And I was watching part of your package. And one thing I noticed, too, was that he said they're not actually able to control the pricing of the milk at all themselves. Right. The farmers, it's just up to a baseline of pricing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a great point. So when I was talking to the milk board, he made it clear that farmers don't get to set the price of their milk. They don't get to say, like he used a great example of, like, a farmer can't just say, "Hey, Turkey Hill, pay me X amount of dollars." It
Mhm.
doesn't exactly work like that. So instead, there's a federal price, and then on that federal price, the milk board can add an additional price that again doesn't impact the consumer. They make sure it's not so crazy that consumers have to pay for it, but in reality, it's there so that way the milk board is there so that farmers can have more equal opportunity and they can get all of the money that they believe is owed to them.
That's so interesting. You would never think that they wouldn't be able to be involved in that initial pricing situation. That's very interesting. I'm really happy that you were able to get out and go talk to these people. Is there anything else that you want our viewers or people watching to know before they watch your package later?
I'd probably just say if there's any other questions or just kind of underlying answers that people might have, then I mean, I would definitely say, or concerns, I would definitely suggest that they either go to our article to kind of see more of, like, I break down pretty extensively the issue and what's going on. And then again, if there's any concerns people have, the milk board does have regular meetings. So they can always reach out to the Department of Ag or the Farm Bureau and kind of put in their 2 cents to have the Farm Bureau and the Department of Ag kind of stick up for them. Because again, they have testimonies. And so the Pennsylvania Milk Board aren't the only people that make these decisions. So they have testimonies with Department of Ag, Farm Bureau, all these different folks from around the Commonwealth to reach a consensus of what we can do for farmers, what helps farmers. So I would just say, again, if you have any questions, go to our article, or if, again, you want to kind of voice your concerns, then reach out to the Department of Ag or the Farm Bureau.
Awesome. So if there's any of you who are farmers or in the agriculture business and are interested in reading more about this, we have our article on our website that Austin put together, and his story will be airing on CBS 21 later this evening, so you all can check that out. Austin, thank you so much for joining us here, and I hope all of you watching have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. That was it for CBS 21 Next, and we will see you all next time.